Hi, my name is India. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing the third part of my tier ranking books that I've read this year. I don't do monthly wrap-ups. I also don't really rate my books. So this is just kind of a way for me to take a look at my books in like chunks of 20 and see how I'm feeling about them. So yeah, these are books 41 to 60 that I have read this year. And let's just get started. First up, we have Boy Snow Bird by Helen Oyeyemi. This is a Snow White retelling that looks at like beauty and race and a little bit of gender. Helen Oyeyemi is an interesting author. I think she writes very smart books and books that you really have to like pay attention to, and she makes her readers work. And for that reason, I'm going to keep reading her books, but I don't think this really like hit for me. Like it was just okay. So I'm gonna put it in the bottom tier, which is it's a book. I should have gone through what my tiers are. So I have, this is my personality now at the top, big recommend, bottom, or next. Yes is in the middle, not for me. It's just like a book that I'm like, I can see how this is a good book, but it just wasn't for me. And then It's a Book is just like a book I'm kind of ambivalent about. Like it's okay, it was a book, I read it. Not for me is like a book that I maybe wouldn't have read, or like would be okay if I didn't read. It's a Book is kind of similar but a little bit different. The differences between these tiers doesn't really matter because it makes sense in my brain, and that's all I can do at this point. What is this book doing here? Anyway, next we have The Anthropologists by someone whose name I can't pronounce, but I'm gonna try. Aysegul Savas, maybe. This is a literary fiction, pretty short book that is just someone talking about like the mundanity of life and looking at life from this like anthropological perspective of like what is a day made up of, what is life made up of in the very mundane. This was written in like vignettes, which I really like, and I think it's worth a read. I had a lot of people recommend it to me who I work with, and so I'm gonna put this in big recommend. I think it was really good, and again, short. I got it from the library. It was really nice. A Tide of Treason. This, I'm just gonna tell you off the bat, was not for me. This is a fantasy book following 3 characters who are all on these different paths to either like seek self-fulfillment or like avenge someone or protect their community. We have this main kingdom that is kind of like done some pretty awful things in terms of like taking over other places and committing atrocities, and their king is ready to step down and have his son take over. But his son is like, I don't really want to be king, and instead just wants to sail the seas. And so he has this opportunity to sail the seas for a little bit before taking the throne. We have another character who is a privateer slash pirate and is trying to avenge his mother, who was married to this king of the bad place. And he's like, I gotta kill the king. So that's his plot. This is not spoilers. And then we have a third character who is a mermaid who is really concerned with how this main bad kingdom is polluting the ocean with iron, with its use of iron, and the magic system is kind of like tied up with iron. So yeah, this just wasn't for me. I didn't find the story, like, I read it, but I found it really challenging to compel myself to pick it up. And I think it's just because, like, I'm not the biggest fantasy reader, and if I was, I think I would have read this and been like, yeah, this was a good time. And I think for me, it just was like, it's okay. Not for me, but it's okay. Love Theoretically. I read my first Ellie Hazelwood and had a blast. Love Theoretically follows our main character, whose name I don't remember, but she is a theoretical physicist. And then there's this like butting of heads against theoretical and I forget what the other type of physicists are. It's ultimately fine. I don't need to remember this. But there's this butting of heads against these physicists in the community. She's trying to get a job, and this man who is the brother of this guy who she's fake dating, because that's what she does on the side of, she's like an adjunct professor and then also like does fake dating type things on the side of like providing dates. Anyway, you get it. She provides her services as a date for people. This man is the brother of the dude who she's like pretending to date. And this guy is like, oh my God, what is going on? Why are you here applying to work for MIT, which I work for? Why are you being interviewed? You're an elementary teacher or like a librarian or something. And she's like, actually, no, I'm a physicist. Anyway, loved the romance, loved the way it was written. I had such a fun time. I think the next Allie Hazelwood book that I want to read is Bride, because monster romance, obviously. So I'm putting this in big recommend, again, because someone else recommended it to me, and I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot, like, fine. And then I really enjoyed it. Okay. Unworld by Jason Green. I don't fully remember what this is about, but I did not like it. If I'm remembering correctly, this follows a family, particularly I think the mother of this son who had died by suicide, and also his friend. We get his friend's perspective and some other perspectives. What we know about this boy, who was like a teenager, is that he was really invested in either playing or making this video game world where you interact with AI, I think. And then there also was this like AI mom-like figure. Oh, hold on. Okay, so this world is one where you can have like an AI duplicate of yourself that I believe helps with like memory and some other things. As you can tell, I don't really remember it because I didn't really care for it, because I don't think I want to read books that explore AI, because I'm just not interested. I just don't care enough about the thing of like, oh, what's the human relationship with AI? Because I'm like, should there be? I just feel so uninterested that for me, I was like, this is a book. It's also just not for me. So I'm going to put it in not for me, because I feel like that's more what it is. Even though it feels like lower tier, like bottom tier. Maybe I should switch these tiers. It doesn't matter. Anyway, that's Unworld by Jason Green. I just read it for a prompt on a summer reading challenge card. The Kraken's Sacrifice by Katie Robert. I have been reading Katie Roberts' monster romance series, and this is the second in there. So this follows characters who make a deal with a demon. I believe this is called, yeah, the Deal with the Demon series. They make a deal with a demon to commit 7 years of service to the demon's world in order to get something or get out of a current situation. And so our main character is like, I just want money. I just want money and to be financially secure. So, deal. But what happens is these women are auctioned off to monster territory leaders, and go and live with them. This one is about the Kraken. And in the past, I've really been a fan of Kraken stories, but I think I just wasn't super compelled by either of the characters in this one. I thought the main male character, our Kraken guy, was just making some questionable decisions. I was like, why are you doing this? Like, I get that you're anxious and grieving, because he's like grieving the loss of his like last like life partner. And it's like, I get that you're grieving, but also don't be an ass about it. So it's a book. Maybe this is the differentiation. This totally is for me, but I didn't love it. Ooh, okay, Kissing the Witch by Emma Donoghue. Kissing the Witch is this like snowballing story collection, or like interconnected story collection, I guess, about traditional fairy tales, retelling traditional fairy tales. It starts with one thing and it's like, oh, I'm gonna tell you about how this happened. And then it ends, and then there's this like page that's like, oh, well, if that happened, what happened here? And we get to another character and we tell about that character. And then it's like, oh, if that happened, then what happened here? So it's really like builds off of itself and is a fairly cohesive and comprehensive fairy tale retelling collection. I really liked this. I think it was one of those things that I remember, it's like very queer, and I remember hearing a lot about, and was published in 1997, which is part of the reason why I read it. That was another summer reading challenge. I just was doing a lot of summer reading challenge reading. It was good. I don't know if it would be like a big recommend. I would definitely pick it up and be like, oh, this was really nice and really good. But I don't think that it's one that I would recommend super broadly. I think if you like fairy tale retellings, that's a good one. And then, but yeah, so I'm gonna put it in yes. I really liked it. It was a good book. I'm gonna put it in yes. The Bewitching by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. I listened to this on audiobook. This is about 3 generations, not necessarily of the same family, but we have 3 different perspectives and 3 different time periods happening. One of them is like 1908 Mexico, I believe. One of them is like 1930, 1940 New England. The other one is like present day New England. This is about witches and hauntings and curses, and very gothic, even in the modern or like contemporary setting. It's pretty gothic. And in the contemporary setting, we are following a main character who is a graduate student and also works as like an on-campus like resident advisor, or like, yeah. And she is researching into this horror author and doing research and connecting with this family that was connected with her. And so we are getting her perspective on what's going on, and then some really creepy things are happening. There's this guy who is one of her residents who's just kind of an ass. But anyway, so she's doing this research into this horror author who wrote this book based on this disappearance of a friend. And we're getting that story of this manuscript about the disappearance of this woman in 1930s or 40s. Maybe it was 50s. Anyway, doesn't matter that much. And then we're also getting 1908, which is the OG, like, main character's great-great-grandmother, or like great-great-aunt. And she is dealing with this like haunting that's going on. People are dying, animals are acting weird and dying. Anyway, this was, yeah, it was a book. I think it was good. I enjoyed it. It made me want to read other Sylvia Moreno Garcia books, especially Mexican Gothic. So I'm gonna put it in yes. I think it was pretty solid. Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. This is going in This Is My Personality now. I'm so happy that I read this book. This is about these women, particularly our like main character. Our main character is abducted by aliens and put in this room with a bunch of other women. And there are guards who are like watching and do messed up things whenever they are like making too much noise or breaking rules or anything. And anyway, these women don't know what's happening, but then all of a sudden this like, I'm mistaking it with a book that I'm currently reading that has a lot of similarities actually. So either the siren goes off and all the guards leave, or there's like this crash landing. Anyway, I forget the specifics. But anyway, there's this thing, the guards leave, except maybe there's one guard and they attack the guard. Whether that happens doesn't super matter. But they're on this planet that's super cold, and our main character is like, I'm gonna go out and explore and see what I can find. And she finds a blue alien. And the rest is history. I loved this a lot. I had so much fun with this. I'm going to be reading more of it. I just am. I'm going to be reading the rest of it. I didn't read the like bonus chapter because there was like a recommendation of like, oh, read this after you read the second book in the series because there might be some spoilers. Anyway, let's move on. This is my personality now. Oh my gosh, we have another one. The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love by India Holton. This is the first time I've read from an author who has the same first name as me, so that's fun. This is about two ornithologists who are competing for Birder of the Year, as all the ornithologists are in Europe. And there's this particular bird that they're trying to get. And there's all these other magical birds that are kind of showing up as the ornithologists are looking for this particular bird. Anyway, the main plot line is, you know, trying to find this bird, but also a romance between competing like Cambridge and Oxford ornithologists. These like two young, like prodigy ornithologist people who, the main guy ends up stealing a bird from the main girl, and she's like, he's so handsome, and how dare he? And it's just very like, I listened to the audiobook is very well narrated, and I just really loved this a lot. It's historical, it's romantic, it's fun and kind of silly, and like just really good. So this is my personality now. Super nice. Okay, No Rest for the Wicked by Cressley Cole. This is the second book in the Immortals After Dark series. The first one is, I'm forgetting the name of the first one, but that's fine. This one follows our main character who's competing in this like immortal trial game that comes around every so often, and she really wants to get the prize at the end of the game because it's going to help her avenge or bring back her past sisters. Our main character is a Valkyrie, and so she is just like, I gotta do this. I am like I've been living without my sisters and I need to avenge their death. And in order to do that, I must win this game. And also I have to win this game because I always win this game. So it's about that. But then we also have this vampire who is... What is he doing? We have this vampire who, I forget the setup, but he's like, oh, I love this girl. Does not know her. Like, they meet and he's like, that's my mate. That's my bride. And she's like, no, I'm not. We hate vampires. Valkyries are against vampires. Anyway, he's like, that's my bride. And his plan is he's like, I'm gonna win the game in order to get the prize and present the prize to this girl, this Valkyrie, which is a stupid plan. Anyway, there's a bunch of like hijinks that ensue, and this was fine. I didn't like it as much as the first one, which, again, I'm not remembering the name of. And for a while I was like, I'm not going to continue on with the series, but the next one is like something on a winter's night, and I am going to continue because monster romance. The thing about these books is that they were written in the early 2000s, so there's certain like tropes that are not great in these books. You know, things about consent are pretty blurry, so just like go into these books with that in mind. But yeah, I didn't love this one as much as I liked the other one. I thought the other one, the first one, again, I wish I could remember it, was very fun and entertaining, and this one was just a little bit less entertaining. I think I didn't like the characters as much. Maybe that's what it was. So I'm gonna put this in yes, because it's not that it was like not for me. Like, I still had a good time, but I just didn't like it as much as the first one. Tender Buttons Objects by Gertrude Stein. This was a reread. I read it because I needed to reread a book, and this was pretty short. And I was thinking that I was going to do a Gertrude Stein piece. I'm not going to go into why I'm no longer doing a Gertrude Stein piece, except to say that if you're curious about Gertrude Stein's political leanings, go ahead and Google it. It's not what you would expect unless you already know, in which case I feel silly. But I just learned some things about Gertrude Stein that I was like, I'm uncomfortable making a art piece about her and her art. So anyway, that has nothing to do with the fact that I read this. It was a book. I'm not putting it in It's a Book because I liked it a little bit more than that, and I was, at the time that I read it, engaging with it from a like artistic making perspective. So I'm going to put it in yes. Gertrude Stein writes very weird modern poetry and stuff. Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. My demeanor changes when I'm talking about these romance books. So this is the third book in the Brown Sisters trilogy. This follows Eve, who is the youngest, and she is kind of hopping between career paths and not really settling on anything. And something happens and her parents are like, we're cutting you off. You have a year. You need to find something and stick to it. And she's like, nah. So she goes on a drive and she finds this bed and breakfast that's hiring a cook. And she's like, okay, why not? So she goes into interview, no resume, no CV. She's just like, these are the reasons why you should consider me. And she meets the owner of this B&B who's like, I'm sorry, am I supposed to take you seriously when you are unprepared for this? Like, please take this seriously, but am I supposed to take you seriously? Anyway, he's like, no. And she like gets out, and the owner's friend is like, you really need a chef for XYZ reasons. Go out and get her because you have no other options. And the dude is like, fine. Things ensue. Someone gets hit with a car and like concussed. And Eve ends up filling in as the cook at this B&B. And some feelings start to ensue between her and the owner of the B&B. I liked this a lot. It was so good. There's autism representation. There's like, I was about to be like neurodivergence representation, but like in addition to autism, I would say this was really good and really sweet. And I don't know whether to put it in This Is My Personality Now or Big Recommend. I think ultimately it's going in This Is My Personality Now because romance, I'm just like I'm in my romance era. Or I was during the summertime. I don't know how that's gonna go with the season change, but yes, romance. Yes, this is my personality now. Okay, I have 2 books that I'm going to talk about together. The first is Ambrosia, and the next is Succulent. These are both trans-inclusive. One of them is a trans-inclusive sapphic comic collection, and the other one is a trans masc and non-binary erotic comic anthology. So these are 2 comic anthologies, erotic, 18 plus, that were great. I loved the art of not of like every single story, but I really liked the art that was in here. I really liked the stories that were in here. I liked how things were organized, and I just thought they were great. And I loved having a graphic novel anthology that I could like flip to every now and again. So I'm putting both of them in Big Recommend. They were great. If you have access to them or can find them, I highly recommend. Post-Colonial Love Poem by Natalie Diaz is a collection of poems, as you might be able to infer. A lot of them touch on topics that relate to Indigenous people, so like colonialism, but also like living on reservations. And I think there's a poem that's like that's like about basketball and playing basketball on a reservation. I don't know why that's something that sticks out. I am not a basketball fan, but that sticks out. This was great. I liked a lot of the poems that were in here, especially ones that seemed focused on like love. I mean, I like a love poem, but I felt like those were really not necessarily unique, but I just liked them and they stood out to me. So I'm going to put this in Big Recommend. It was great. It won an award, which was why I read it, because a reading challenge. Marshmallow and Jordan by Alina Chow. This is a graphic novel, young adult or children's graphic novel about Jordan, who had an accident and was paralyzed from the waist down. And before that, she was the star of her basketball team. And so she's feeling a little bit of this like loss of not being able to play basketball anymore. And so she ends up, through a string of events, joining the water polo team. And it's about that. It's also about Marshmallow, which is this elephant, this white elephant that they find on the playground one day, and Jordan takes to her family, and now she has a white elephant. This was really sweet. This talked about friendship and like, I don't want to be like overcoming adversity, but of, shifting and adapting based on changes in ability. And I thought this was really great. I think folks should read it. So this is going in Big Recommend. I read it in like a day because it was a like youth graphic novel. Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. I've been reading a lot of John Green, as in 2 John Green books this year. This one is about our main character who has OCD. I think a large majority of the book is about her OCD and about her dealing with it and managing or not managing it. And there is this boy who she went to summer camp with, and his father is this huge billionaire who has gone missing. Millionaire, billionaire, very wealthy man who's gone missing right before police were going to his house to arrest him for like fraud. And so she's reconnecting with this boy because there is a reward for information regarding this man, and her bestie is like, hey, money, let's go reconnect with this guy. And this guy, her friend, this person who she was friends with and who she's reconnecting with, is like, I really want to make sure that you're not just in this for the money. Anyway, there's a lot going on here. I thought this was really good and really emotional. And it was good and it was emotional, and I've recommended it to people. And I don't know whether to put it in big recommend or yes, because I just don't know. So I'm going to put it in yes, just even out the categories. Is that arbitrary? Yes. Princess Floralinda and the 40 Flight Tower by Tamsin Muir. This is a story about a princess who's locked away in a tower 40 flights up by a witch. And all these princes come and rescue her, but they keep getting eaten by the dragon. And so one day Princess Floralinda is like, well, what if I go down? What if I go to the flight down and see what happens? And that's kind of the story, is about her and eventually this like garden fairy that gets somehow swept up into the tower. It's about the two of them making their way down the tower. I really liked this. I really liked the audiobook narrator. I thought it was really compelling and just fun. And I liked listening to it. I was like looking forward to listening to it. So this is a big recommend. Lastly, we have If Beale Street Could Talk by James Baldwin. This is the story of two people, Fonnie and Tish. Wow, look at me remembering names. I can't remember names to save my life. Anyway, Fonnie and Tish, who are living in New York. They're Black. Fonnie is put in jail for a crime that he did not do and was not like anywhere near being around to do, but is being like racially profiled. And Tish is pregnant with Fonnie's child. And this is a lot about like trying to find hope, trying to find resilience in a tough situation, trying to get Fonnie out of jail, and also coming to and needing to adapt, like Tish needing to adapt to being pregnant. I really want to watch the movie for this, which I've heard great things about, and I'm glad that I've read the book so that I can now watch the movie. I think this is one of my, I really liked this. I need to reread Giovanni's Room because my experience with Giovanni's Room was pretty negative, and I think I need to reapproach it. But so far, this is my favorite James Baldwin fiction that I've read. And yeah, I would recommend this. I think this was pretty good, so it's going in big recommend. Well, let me stop this. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know some books that you've read recently that you've liked. If you've read any of these books, let me know what you thought of them. And I will see you when I see you.